Welcome to this brief video where we are launching a brand new special issue of the Scandinavian Journal of Military Studies on the topic Military Exercises and the Wargaming in Professional Military Education. My name is Catherine Kuspari, and I am studying to become an Army officer at the Norwegian Defence University College. With me on Skype is the well-renowned wargaming expert Peter Perla from the US Navy, Vårin Alme from the Norwegian Defense Research Establishment, and also my teacher, Carsten Rønnfeldt. You have all contributed to this special issue, and I would like you to introduce some takeaways. So let's start with you, Peter. I do not know whether you have heard this, but 24 hours after your article was published on Tuesday, there were more views and downloads than the journal has ever experienced before. You write about the cycle of research and education. So I'm wondering, why is that so important?
Well, the cycle is fundamental to both research and education. War games, analysis, and practical experience and exercises, as well as historical documentation of actual operations, must be integrated if we're to learn and teach the full extent of what we can about current and future military activities. Analysis and data inform us of the physical world in which we operate. War games allow synthetic experience of making difficult decisions under time pressure and uncertainty. And real-world activity and documentation shows us how theory is actually applied and enacted in reality. Only by integrating all those aspects can learners develop their understanding and practice their profession effectively.
Interesting. So what is the central role of wargaming in this cycle?
Well, war games focus on decision-making. Dietrich Donner's research indicates just how difficult humans find making effective decisions in complex situations plagued by uncertainty and time pressure. Learning to make better decisions under those circumstances requires not only practice at making all kinds of different decisions in different circumstances, but also thoughtful reflection on the learner's whole approach to making decisions. By integrating the experience of playing in a game with the opportunity to assess just how you make the decisions you did and why, the learner begins to develop mental muscle memory, which William McCarty Little of the US Naval War College back in the early 20th century identified as the key to making correct decisions correctly applied in time, the hallmark of success in war and any other human endeavor.
Thank you. So Carsten, you are the editor of the publication of which Peter Perla's article forms part. What is the idea behind the special issue?
At the Norwegian Defence University College, we've been using war games and exercises for more than 100 years. And we find them very useful, effective educational tools for all the reasons that Peter just mentioned. And some of us got together and say, why don't we sort of share experiences? Why don't we develop new ideas? And let's meet up with other people from, like Vårin from the Norwegian Defense Research Establishment, and also international experts like Peter and Tom Watt from the British Defence Academy, and Sebastian Bay from Georgetown University. So we are some 25 of us all together. We made an international conference in May, and now we're out with this special issue.
So what did you find, or rather what can others find in your special issue?
There are 12 articles, and they are written by teachers and researchers that have a long experience and a diverse experience with using these educational tools. And well, there's one article, just to give some examples, there's one article on the utilities and pitfalls of war games in education. There is one on exercises, a cyber defense exercise. There's another one on matrix games at the tactical level. There is one on a seminar game, tabletop game at a more sort of political level. And then there is one or several on cross-cutting topics like Vårin, your article on pedagogical aspects of war games, but also I think your findings are equally applicable in exercises.
Thank you. So the article you have co-authored with Adeline Hvidsten is titled "To Learn or Not to Learn" on the importance of mode switching in educational war games. What is your main point in this article?
Okay, so our main thesis is that modes matter in educational war games, and we propose that you should look at an educational war games as one where the students enter into first one mode, and then another that you need then a mode switch from the war game to the debrief, and that in the war game you should be in the what we call the mode of experience, where you fully are immersed and you don't critically assess everything that happens, but that you then after the war game have to switch into an observer mode, taking an analyst role, and stop contending or contesting what went on in the war game, and that if you don't make that switch, the full potential for learning is not realized.
Thank you. Very interesting. So what would an implication of this thesis be for the design of war games?
Well, there are several, and we've tried to list them all at the end of the article. But one such design implication would be that as it is quite difficult to get students into the right mode at the right time, we suggest that this should only happen once during the game. So after the game and before the debrief. And that would be a different approach to that of, for instance, during action review, which I gather that Carsten describes in his article. So I think we propose different ways of designing war games in this special issue.
So I hope this is not the last we will hear from you on the topic of educational wargaming. So I was wondering, what are your research plans? Peter, will you start?
Sure. Right. I'm largely retired these days from the Center for Naval Analyses, but I'm doing a continual internal consulting there. And I'm also teaching in the Military Operations Research Society wargaming courses. I'm wrapping up a book for the History of Wargaming project, looking at the Guadalcanal campaign of World War II and about how you can use war games to help better understand aspects of that campaign. And so I have to design a few little games to go into that book. And I'm in the early stages of work on another book on modeling in World War II tactical games in the same kind of way, sort of historical and war games put together.
Interesting. And you, Vårin, what are your plans?
Well, I want to explore different purposes of wargaming. So I want to first touch upon what Peter introduced with, applying war games as a tool for teaching theory. And I also want to explore how and to what degree of success war games can be used for social science research.
Thank you. And finally, Carsten, what are you up to?
We just a new initiative is that we are cooperating with civilian professional educations, the medical schools and police academies. And the idea is that they are also using exercises, games, and simulations in their education, helping their students to become professionals in their fields. So we share some common experiences, and we would like to learn together in fields like competencies. What kind of competencies do we believe games can help develop? What are the pedagogical strategies we can use? And how do we assess what they actually learn? In addition, of course, to cooperating, as we've been doing for many years, with our colleagues at military academies across the Alliance to become better in this field.
Thank you. Well, on that note, I would like to thank you all, Vårin, Peter, and also Carsten, for introducing the special issue Military Exercises and Wargaming in Professional Military Education. And for those who would like to learn about it, please go to this website or follow the attached link. Till next time, or as we say in Norwegian, på gjensyn.